Hey, if you have trouble getting to a medical training course for gun owners, stick around to learn about some online options.
Hey, did you know law-abiding gun shops and manufacturers had their credit card processing system shut down because their vendors think that their guns are inappropriate? Well, shutting down a business that supports your constitutional right to self-defense is wrong, which is why we are so excited to have 365 Glacier Payments as a 10-ring partner. 365 Glacier Payments specializes in companies in the firearms industry. If you have a business that accepts credit cards, give them a call today so you can enjoy the peace of mind that your account won't be shut down, and also enjoy the best rates. Visit their website, 365glacierpayment.com, and ask for a free account review. And if they can't beat your credit card processing rates, they'll pay you $100. All right, our special guest today is Dr. Rick Hammesfahr, and he wants to talk to us a little bit about online medical training. How you doing, Dr. Rick?
Hey, I'm very fine, thanks. How about yourself?
Oh, not doing too bad at all. So before we get into your course, kind of give us a little background of who you are and how many ambulances you rode in.
Probably not nearly as many ambulances as you think, but it was fun going in them. I basically was recruited right after 9/11 by U.S. Special Operations Command to help them do some of the training programs. They were having some medical problems with their Special Forces medics because at that time they were only trained to take care of people for 60 minutes, which was the golden hour. And with the evac times over the Hindu Kush, they were running 18 to 36 hours, so it just was not working out. So we basically set up revamped the training programs and set up a number of different advanced care programs for the Special Operations medics. And did that for about 10 years. And during that time, we took the principles that had been developed for the medical community, or tactical medical community and Special Forces, and flipped them into the civilian side. Because on the civilian side, do you remember those pictures of Virginia Tech, how all the cops are carrying everybody out of the during
during
that shooting, and that's because in this country, paramedics cannot go into a building until it's been cleared by law enforcement. That can take hours. So the logical answer is we take people and take medical personnel on the civilian side and take them to the point of wounding to start taking care of people rather than taking the wounded out to the point of outside. And so it improves the survivability. And then from that, I was approached by US Lawshield to start setting up some courses for them because of all the gun owners. It's incredibly important that you really learn how to take care of yourself because unfortunately there are things like accidental discharges, and people do get hurt with everything that's going on a gun range. But more importantly, if you look at what kills somebody, it really doesn't matter if you're bleeding to death. It doesn't matter if you've been shot, if it's a chainsaw accident, if your daughter's running falls through a plate glass window. The cause of the bleeding to death is different in all those cases, but the treatment's the same. So all the principles that we learned for how to take care of war injuries apply to the civilian sector because, stuff happens. And so that's basically what the courses are all about, teaching people how to save themselves because you can bleed out in about 3 minutes and die. The average response time for EMS is close to 7 to 9 minutes, depending on whether or not your city's under lockdown.
Right.
That's the principle.
So you still work off the premise of putting it into a 60-minute situation?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh.
Basically, the whole concept at this point is that if something happens, you can't rely on somebody else to come help you out. You have to be able to take care of yourself or the person you're with. Because by the time somebody else gets there, if they've had a major bleed, they're probably going to die.
Gotcha.
So it's up to us. It's kind of like, you hate to, it's that survival mentality. It's really up to us to learn how to take care of ourselves until somebody else can get there. Because we can't, it just takes too long these days.
Right. Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. Traffic jams, there's a million things that would slow people down. So so kind of explain to me how this works online. I'm not a big online kind of a person. So kind of walk us through. I mean, you definitely can't do hands-on, of course. So So your training must be pretty in-depth.
Yeah. Well, US Lawshield has both in-person courses and online courses. And the online courses, because they're longer, but they're broken into about 45-minute segments, you can provide a lot more in-depth instruction and also a lot more of the background knowledge that's necessary so that you understand why you're doing something, why you're putting the tourniquet on, and in which situation you should use a tourniquet, which situation you should not use a tourniquet. So you can just get a lot more knowledge with the online course, but the trade-off is you don't really get the hands-on experience, which is absolutely critical when you're trying to learn how to do these things.
So would you recommend doing the hands-on as your first choice and then online if that's your only other choice?
Yeah, I think the hands-on is without a doubt the best way to go. And then if you can't get it, or you need more information, or if you want to know more about it and go into more in-depth knowledge, then do the online courses, because those always have more knowledge. But it becomes really critical to understand how to put a tourniquet on correctly, because if you put it on incorrectly, it can actually increase blood loss rather than stop blood loss.
Right.
And so there are some nuances that you do need to learn about.
So how long are these online courses? Do they have time distances?
The one for US Lawshield, it's usually about a 6-hour course broken into about 45-minute blocks. So once you sign up for the course, you can pretty much take it at your leisure.
Gotcha.
And take it as many times as you want.
Oh, well, that's good. You could keep it on, keep it in your computer, and then breeze through it every once in a while.
Yeah, you really can.
It's like going to the range more than once.
Exactly. And then the other important thing is, if you do the online course first, then at some point you should try to get into a hands-on course.
Right.
But the other thing that can be very confusing these days is there's so many things on YouTube. And what we've tried to do with the US Lawshield course is that we've stuck with the proven tactics, techniques, and procedures developed by the Committee on Tactical Combat Casualty Care, which is the military version, and also the medical equipment. Because there are some tourniquets that are highly rated and work, and there are other tourniquets that have great publicity, but they have an 80% failure rate. And so you really have to have the right equipment also.
So you do recommendations on equipment as well as training?
Recommendations on the equipment and training, and the knowledge is all updated when the Committee on Tactical Combat Casualty Care and the Committee on Tactical Emergency Casualty Care, which is the military and civilian versions, make their recommendations on changes to the different treatment protocols for trauma. But it's really all about stopping the bleeding, opening the airway, sealing chest wounds, and trying to keep people alive until somebody else with more medical knowledge can get there.
Right. You've been pretty busy, got a lot of students?
Yeah, we're doing, it's been very busy. For our in-person courses, we have a teaching cadre of about 110 people nationwide, and we're doing we were doing 30 classes a month before COVID hit, in-person classes, and we've just ramped those up again to about 15. The online course has been doing incredibly well, especially with all the new gun owners out there.
Yeah.
So if you do have a high if you do have a high quality tourniquet, if you do have a high quality tourniquet, and it's a good piece of equipment and everything, how do you what's the most common mistake, I guess is what I'm asking. How do you screw that up?
The most common mistake is just not putting it on. First is not putting it on tightly enough. And then the other one is just using one that's a counterfeit tourniquet or something that has not been tested and not been approved. And the ones that are counterfeit tend to have failure rates. They're cheaply made. The ones that have not been approved are in that category because they have such high failure rates. So the recommended tourniquets are great. You just have to practice with them. But the other thing you have to realize is that if you have whichever tourniquet you use, these are by and large single-use items. So, and the Velcro is what makes the tourniquet work. So we all know what happens if you take Velcro and rip it 50 or 60 times while you're practicing putting on a tourniquet and taking it off. So you really have to have two tourniquets. One that you carry and don't use unless you absolutely have to, and the second tourniquet that you practice with.
Gotcha.
If you practice with the tourniquet that you carry, the odds are it'll fail when you actually go to need it.
Yeah.
And so that's not a good situation either.
So
how do you practice with a tourniquet? Like how do you know you're doing it right?
Well, that's where the value of the in-person course comes in, because you can really learn how to do it right that way. But the videos that we put together for the online course, we really walk people through on a step-by-step basis on how to put the tourniquet on, what to do, what needs to be done correctly, what not to do, and how these things fail. And then we also teach people how to test the tourniquet themselves so that they can tell if they're getting it on correctly. And once you know how to put it on correctly and you've done it, then it just becomes a question of practicing how to do it. Doing it on your leg, doing it on your dominant arm, doing it on your non-dominant arm, things like that.
Yeah. So for the video classes, what kind of a price are we looking at?
It varies a little bit depending on whether or not you're a member of US Lawshield.
Mm-hmm.
But it's by and large, it's very reasonable. I don't know the cost.
Well, if they go to uslawshield.com, they can look it up, and it'll probably be beneficial for them to join US Lawshield for the discount and be protected that way as well.
Absolutely, for the discount, and the protection is tremendous.
Right. Totally agree.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.